Welcome to the podcast, Entrepreneur Perspectives, building and protecting your business one podcast at a time, a CatSource family production. In this episode, we discuss car sales, social media focusing, and creating a community. We are back for another freestyle episode where we take on conversation topics that we have been having these past few weeks. We bring these conversations to you as we believe they can help any business owner or entrepreneur. John joins me live from Western Carolina University to discuss these following topics: sales, social media, community, assumptions in business, and of course, the NBA trade deadline with a sports e-preneur twist. With the deadline to get this podcast published, let's get right into this episode. So we're back with another freestyle episode, and with me again is John Priore. John, how's it going today?
I'm going really well. How are you?
I'm good. So, John, you're outside of, you're in your school, right? You're at the library, maybe?
I am. I'm at the library in between some classes, and what better way to spend it than recording a nice podcast episode?
Yeah, and we're going to get into an article that you have coming out, I think, pretty soon, just about how you can actually create and help build a business while still in school and help set yourself up for the next job, right? The next step in your life. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for that article. That was a fun one to write. And anyone could talk to me about it more. It's fun. It keeps you energized and keeps you going all day.
Yeah. So I'd agree with that. I think just anytime you're building a business, which is what we like to do, I think it can keep you energized for sure. And there's a lot of stuff going on, right? Today is when we're recording this, it is Thursday, February 8th, which is crazy. It's the NBA trade deadline. The Winter Olympics start tonight. NFL season just ended. The New England Patriots did not win the Super Bowl, so I think most of the country's pretty happy about that. So we got some good things going on. It's a little bit crazy. We do want to cover 5 topics, questions that we get from people, just topics that we tend to talk about recently, whether it's on social media, just in our conversations with clients. So, John, if you want to, I'll let you kind of take over, maybe ask the questions and just get a little back and forth on it.
Yeah, let's do it. So the first topic I want to talk about is, so I understand you were recently looking for a new car. We're not here to talk about the car in specific. I just want to know what you thought of the process of buying a car as it relates to sales.
Yeah, so I think most people can agree going out to buy a car is like one of the least fun things to do as far as the process of it. Maybe getting a car is fun because it's something new, and I don't consider it a huge deal by any means. I like to lease cars a lot, just depends on what we do, whether it's buy. That's a whole financing podcast we could do on should you buy or lease a car, right? There's blogs about that. But the actual process of going to get your car is really a pain because, one, it takes a lot of time. And I definitely think, talk about, this is off track, but talk about industry that's ripe for disruption, which obviously with, you don't need drivers maybe in the future. But the point is, when you have to go, you're putting yourself into a sales cycle of another business. And I don't think there's anything worse than that, especially when you have over-aggressive sales tactics that go on. And it's not going to, I don't think a salesperson can really sell you a car. I think the cars will sell themselves, or maybe the terms, the financing of that deal maybe work out for what you're trying to accomplish. And everyone's going in to buy a car for different reasons. You want affordability, you want a fast car, you want a car that you can fit your kids in, you want to go off-roading, whatever that is, right? But I think just this experience, this recent experience, gets me thinking a lot about sales because I love to watch people in sales because I know they're coming to sell me. So I like to watch how different people handle it. And it was very surprising that some of the higher end dealerships in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, I'm not going to name names, but not all of them were bad, but I don't think they could have handled it any worse than they did. And actually, I'll say this, John, they couldn't have handled it any worse than they're actually still handling it. The process, the transaction's over. It's been over for multiple weeks, and they're still, doing a poor job. They're still following up, over-aggressive follow-ups, and not getting, the message that there is no deal to be had anymore. The deal's been done, right, and you're out. And you have multiple people texting me, calling me, emailing me on a constant basis about this. And it's just, overall, it is a frustrating experience. And it just makes you grateful when you deal with someone who isn't trying to sell you, who's actually trying to help you out. just like embrace that, because when you deal with on the other side, it's awful. So I don't know if that like kind of gives you the picture of what I'm thinking about the car sales industry right now, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. I bought my car 2 years ago. I was kind of reluctant. I wasn't even going in there to try to buy a car. But luckily, as you were talking about, when you get that right person, I mean, it just feels good. So I got a salesperson who I don't know if he actually did or not, but it felt like he actually cared about me. He wanted me to, he didn't want to just sell me a car. Like, we had conversation, we had all that. And it does make a huge difference because, when you walk in and they're like, wow, you look great in this car. Like, no, I didn't do any of that. He's like, what are your needs? Like, let's see what we can do for you. I was actually just walking in to get my brother's oil changed, honestly. And
so there you go.
I obviously had the idea in the back of my mind. And, but the salesman really just, he didn't push me. He didn't, I actually left and came back without a call, and I just came back and I was like, all right, man, let's do it.
Yeah, that's it. That's the point right there. Is I had the same experience because I do it all on the phone or over email before I go in there. I don't have the time to go sit down there. Now, eventually I'll go in there once I'm ready and I know they have the vehicle. I'll go in there and drive it if it's a car I haven't driven before. But I don't need the over aggressive tactics. I say, I am interested in this. You don't need to call me. I will call you back unless I say, give me a call back tomorrow. Let me know what your thoughts are. Give me some numbers. But as opposed to other people where I'd have this one dealership, they not only called me, the salesperson, then they had someone else in the company calling me. And this happened every day, like multiple times a day. And they're calling from different numbers. And this, again, I'm not like throwing out some like random car dealership that no one's ever heard of. I'm talking about like high end, like some of the most well-known dealerships and salespeople in this city that you would be talking about. And it blows my mind. And they're still calling to this day. And so anyway, I just think it just goes back to, we talk about content marketing. And sometimes when you just help somebody out, and yeah, I get it. You have sales goals to hit. You're under so much pressure, and your manager's like, you got to make 5 sales today. Those are high pressure environments. But so maybe it's not the salesperson's fault. Maybe it's the actual organization's fault. Maybe it's the manager's fault for over pushing this thing, where if you did it a different way, you'd be surprised as to what you can do. Because the car that I ended up, making a deal with, and I told them flat out, I was like, one of the reasons, first of all, I wanted the car. So I was going to get the car regardless of that. But like telling them, like, you guys made this so much easier for me. It wasn't perfect. Like, there's a couple things, but that's fine, because nothing's ever going to be like every sales experience is going to be the best sales experience ever. But they just made it seamless and easy and non-threatening, and answered my questions and allowed me to ask questions, and didn't say, well, if I answer this question for you, can I get you in this car so when you leave today you have a brand new car? No, you can't. I'm not interested in that. And if that's the sales tactic you're going to do, guess what? There's other dealerships within striking distance of most cities where you can say, you know what? I don't want to deal with you guys. I'm going to find another dealership that sells the exact same vehicle, and they're not going to treat me like you treat me. And I think this is just it's not sales, and there's information out there, so they can say, well, here are the numbers on it, but did you realize that I could go to Edmunds.com and I can get all my numbers answered? So you're dealing with someone who knows as much or close to as much as possible, because I'm doing my research on the back end, and it's very easy to do. So I would say this: if you're ever going to lease or buy a vehicle, go to Edmunds.com. They have message board forums. They have experts coming in and giving you all those transaction numbers. So for example, if you're leasing a car and you need to know the money factor or the residual or what the price is, and not just anywhere, I'm talking about in your specific like zip code or your state, like you can find that information out. And so the consumers are more educated than ever before, yet they're still treating us like we're morons and we have no idea what we're talking about. And it's frustrating. But that's not just the car industry. That's all industries. So you really have to know your stuff, and you have to treat people like people. And, I think there's a variation of content marketing that we always talk about that I think fits into it as well. But yeah, to go back into your question, it's an annoying process. But when you find someone on the good side of the sales, you want to stick with that person. That's why before that, I'd bought a car from the same person, from the same dealership multiple times, like 4 or 5 different vehicles from that person, because he treated me the way I'd want to be treated and the way I would want to treat somebody else if I was in that position. So that's a long story about my experience in the car sales, but I think it's an important one because I think most people in business nowadays, you have some variation of sales or service, customer service we talk a lot about. We talked to Cynthia Kay, who's one of our people that we work with quite a bit, and she writes a lot about customer service. It is that important. So I think that's why we have to stay on that topic.
I agree with that. And then on the marketing side of our business, we talk about this all the time, building relationships and, giving people some kind of content or just giving people advice or having a conversation to someone and being genuine, it will only lead to a sale. So that goes back to with the car salesman. If you're genuine to someone who walks to the door and you're just talking, you don't push anything and you're just having, obviously you may have to, approach a sale eventually, but being genuine and having a conversation will only lead to a sale if the product's good and if you're a nice person and if they want to work with you.
Right. It's just, and you know what else too? It's a better day. Like John, you've seen it here. Like we can have fun in the process. We're not going to make every deal. We're not going to make every sale. Some things aren't going to go your way. But if you are having those genuine conversations, think about the different types of conversations we've had with business owners that are not clients of ours. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But we still talk to them and we still engage with them. We built these relationships. And it's a better experience for everybody, including if selfishly looking at yourself to say, including for the day that I'm having every day, showing up to the office, doing what I do, it makes it easier to get up early in the morning and get to work and get stuff done. And you don't even feel like you're working at that point.
I completely agree with that. It's just better for everybody. So let's go to the next question. So let's talk about focusing on your target. This can go a bunch of different ways, but we talk about focusing on your target a lot, and we do this for our clients on a day-to-day basis. Explain kind of what we do in our business and how other people can focus on their target.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple principle, and this is nothing that others don't know or haven't read about. You talk about like the 80-20 rule as an example. It's a version of that. It's really identifying like what is it that works in your business that you should be spending more time doing, whatever that is. And I think only individuals or people that you work with that consult with you can tell you what those things are. And obviously driving revenue is a big thing of it. But if you were to find like specific tasks, like say social media, so when we talk about content marketing, there's going to be some essence of content marketing that's going to be in social media, and that's going to be spending time on one of the networks. And as we look at our business or we look at our clients' business, what we like to do, and we're always refining this, right? So this is an ever-changing thing. But we're saying if you could only pick one place to be spending your time in social media, spend your time there. Now, not saying spend 100% of your time. Don't put all your eggs in that basket, because what if something changes, and we can get into that in a little bit. But spend as much time as you can in that one network. So, for example, if we have a client, in Santa Clarita, California, Lori Adat, she's an educational psychologist. She's an amazing, she has amazing knowledge on this subject. We love talking to her about it. And, she's on Facebook, she's on Instagram, she's got her website. And as we kind of started seeing things play out, those are all great networks for her to be on. And she will continue to play in those environments. But we saw an opening in LinkedIn for her to spend more time and to connect with college students, to connect with parents that are executives at companies, to connect with business owners, to connect with professors, to connect with, all these different people, and specifically in the location that she's in the Santa Clarita or 50-mile radius from there. And so it was like, you know what, let's spend the time in there, still use Instagram, still use Facebook, still create content for the website, but most of it is driven towards LinkedIn. And I say that example because if you identify that and spend all that time, you're going to see a greater reward coming. And it's also, talk about like enjoying your day, it's cleaner because now you really are focused in on exactly what you're doing. If you have too many things going on at once, and again, this is nothing novel, this is productivity 101 type stuff, but it's important. It makes everything that you do on a day-to-day basis that much easier. And so that's the basics of it. So we've done that in our own platform. So if you look at Sportsepreneur, for example, we have a Facebook page, we have LinkedIn stuff, we have all these different things going on. But besides the website, and besides probably like my personal account on Twitter, because I talk about sports a lot or talk about entrepreneurship a lot, it's Instagram, right? So we have a platform, and that's where we spend most of our time. For the CatSource brand, like the overarching company, we still have an Instagram page, we have LinkedIn, we have Twitter, we have all these different things. I would say Facebook, the community, and we'll talk about that in a bit, that's where we're spending most of our time for that brand, for that overarching company. So I think it's just really identifying as a business, where should you be spending that time, understanding, like Lori in California, you might have to change on the fly, right? That's going to happen. And then not being so worried about the other ones, although still dabbling them, because you don't know when Facebook or some other group is going to come out and completely change the game on you overnight. And we're here to tell you that they will. And you should expect it, and you shouldn't be surprised, and you shouldn't be upset. I mean, Snapchat, right? They just did it yesterday as we're recording this. So I just think it's really identifying, again, not a novel thing. This is just identifying where should you be spending most of your time, and it's focusing on that most of your efforts.
So changing on the fly is huge. Like, as you were talking about with Lori, for her, we were spending a lot of time on Instagram, and then while you're doing that, you're kind of realizing I'm putting content out there. I'm spending hours of my day on this platform, and it's generating conversation. But is this the right place where we should be spending all of this time? So that's when you have to realize maybe we should try this. So we go to LinkedIn, we try this, and we realize this is the place she needs to be. So that's where, as we're going to talk about in the trade deadline with the NBA, sometimes change is needed, and the right change will definitely. Not only will it make you happier, it'll save you time, and it will make you more productive, which will ultimately just help your business as a whole and lead to more opportunities for yourself and your company.
Yeah, no, it's no doubt. It's like the stock market. Anyone's been following that. We're not financial advisors, stock advisors by any means, but like, you just watch it, and things, you just have to change, or you have to stay the course, right? And you have to figure out, and that's strategies in business, and you have to figure those different things out and be nimble enough to stop and think about it, to make a change, to not make a change, like whatever that might be. You're spot on with that, and we'll definitely get into that as we get into the trade deadline for sure. But I think there's any advice I would give to someone, because social media in general can absolutely be overwhelming. And I talk to plenty of business owners where, yeah, on surface it's not that complicated, but when you really dive into it and you really want to spend time with it and really give it your all, it's incredibly confusing, and it's incredibly time consuming. And we've seen plenty of businesses, John, that they say they're going to do all these different things, and then you go to their website, let's say a year later, and they have like icons for Twitter or icons for Facebook, and it looks great on your website, right? And then you click it, and either the link doesn't work, or you go there, they don't even have a Twitter profile set up, or you go there and they haven't posted anything since October 2016, and we're living in the year 2018. And it's like, wait a second. And I think we've touched on this topic often on the podcast, but it's something that has to be known. So if you're going to do it, do something with it, and then figure out where is the number one place I'm going to spend my time. Now, again, if you can spend time in all the different platforms and give it as much time as you possibly can, because you have a team of people and you have all these things, all that going on, absolutely. But I would argue that what is the number one place right now where you spend most of your time? And that might change tomorrow, but today, if you were to look at it, what is the number one place? And that's, John, the conversations we're always having for our own business and for our clients, to say, if we look at talking about someone before, Cynthia K, what is the number one place where we should be spending our time? And then we would identify where that would be, and then we would realize it, we would work at that, and then as that stuff changes, we would change it, right? So I think that's kind of what the point we're getting at, what we would offer up to people to say that's what you should be looking at as you're getting involved or continuing on your social media journey, whatever you want to call it.
Yep, I agree. I mean, that's the perfect way to end it. It's just doing it and doing it right. So let's go to the next topic, creating a community. And this is kind of involves what we've done with our Facebook page, and it's generating conversation with other business owners and other individuals as it relates to many different topics, like the Facebook algorithm, or just other not even Charlotte, from all across the globe, different entrepreneurs and business owners, and just the community we've created with them, and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, it is across the globe, right? Because you got Mike from Shifted Hockey. I think he's in Denmark right now.
He is.
And Mike, by the way, your Sportsepreneur t-shirt is on the way. So I think it's on the way. I think we dropped it off at the post office, but it's going to be there soon. But yeah, I mean, it's just like we kind of talked about before. It's having conversations. It's asking questions. It's showing like a genuine interest in others. And I think that, more than anything else, is what people are interested in. Content Marketing Institute is obviously like one of the big names in the content marketing world. They actually just sold, the main guys there sold their business. And that the most recent event, which I think was, I can't remember the month it was, right? I think it was like in the fall, September perhaps. Um, uh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the keynote speaker, and he talked about community. And if you watch him on social media, he's the actor, by the way, played Robin, or so we think in the latest Batman movie, and you probably know him from like 10 Things I Hate About You. But this guy is like really out there, and what's really cool about him is if you watch him on Twitter or Instagram, he's always asking questions of his audience, of his people. And of course, he's an actor, and he's got this incredible following, so people are going to respond to him where like someone else could ask a question and it's crickets. But his point was creating a community with conversation, and not just going to the mountaintop and screaming for everybody to listen to you and posting links for everybody just to click on a link so you can get more readers on your website. Like that's like playing the game. That's playing the system and beating the system. And Facebook and Google are here to tell you stop doing that. Those days are over. That's not how it should be working. Their algorithms are getting smarter every day. So why not just build a platform where you can allow other peoples to converse, right? It's like allowing your friends, like you have a group of friends over here and you have a group of friends over there. Why can't they all talk to each other? Why can't they go out to dinner without you? And I think that's an important thing to think about when you're building your community and building your brand, is that to be known as someone that's going to connect the dots, right? We do this on Instagram. We do it like we have an Instagram chat that we have, and other people are in there sharing ideas, giving topics, talking about their stresses, looking for help. And Facebook's more open source, so anybody can see it. And we pose questions, and it's not about us necessarily. It's about just in general, like just business topics. And what do you guys think? And one of the questions we pose is, what are you doing to stay fit in the workplace? And I think it was like, name the last thing you did in the workplace that was active. And it could have been, it wasn't walking, going to the bathroom, right? It could have been taking a walk in your office park, walking to lunch, taking the stairs, doing push-ups, doing jumping jacks, going outside for 10 minutes to throw a football, right? It's that kind of thing that I think that just then opens the door up for conversation, and people get to meet each other and learn about each other. And yeah, I mean, that goes to what Facebook did. So Facebook changed their algorithm recently, and they basically said, like, we're tired of the passive consumption of content on Facebook. They've gotten a lot of heat for like the polarizing international affair topics that everyone's discussing, and people are getting annoyed, and they're sick of like the 1 or 2 word replies or just the likes. So you got 10,000 likes, big deal. No one's conversing on that. So why don't we create conversation? So they're saying, if we're going to do this, we're gonna tell people, if you want your stuff to be seen, you have to create a conversation. And John, you saw this the other day, that even the content, because we're going to still put like, hey, we have this podcast, we want to share this podcast with people on Facebook. So we're going to post it. But when we post it, in between like 4 or 5 other conversations that we're having, and there's a lot of back and forth on it, this podcast is going to be seen by more people. So it's proof that Facebook is doing exactly what they said they were going to do. They're trying to create conversation between people, whether that's conversation about a soccer game that you went to for your son and you wanted to talk about it with somebody else. That could be conversation. But we're talking about conversation with like businesses and business owners and entrepreneurs. And Facebook saying, if you do it and you do it the right way and you're not playing the game and you're not trying to beat the system, that they're going to promote that content. And as a result, your other content is also going to be seen by more people. As long as that's not like in the middle of it, you're telling someone to go buy your car, right? And like, hey, we got a great deal. Now, don't get me wrong. You have to ask for business. Like, we're not in the business of not asking for checks and asking for money. Like, you have to stay in business. Everyone has to make money. But I think, again, I'm rambling on a little bit, but it is all about that community. And that's no different than like having someone on our podcast. All it is a conversation. It's you and me talking. We had Dean Jackson, who's a professional baseball player in Arizona. We had him on the podcast, and it's just a conversation. It's no different than us sitting at a bar, having a beer, and just talking about what's going on in the world of baseball. And it's just community. And I think the more that people do that, it's not just Facebook. If they're doing it and they're doing the right thing, which we think in many ways they are with this change, other groups other platforms and networks and people are going to follow suit. And it's just a matter of time before that becomes the norm, as opposed to just like the passive type of content that we were used to seeing.
Yeah, and I think, creating the conversations are way more valuable, especially on social media, because social media right now is kind of swamped with people telling you all about themselves and telling you, I'm so great, whatever. But if you have this community and you're just talking to others, that stuff comes out in a much more humble way. and people learn more about you, and it gets, fans and customers involved. So if you're, if you're connecting with, say, a big speaker like Cynthia K, and, she posts this video and you have a genuine conversation about the topic that she was just speaking of, and then Cynthia responds and that leads to an even bigger conversation, you don't know where that could lead. Like, that could lead to Cynthia speaking at her event or something like that. And then it also makes others feel good just to have a conversation. Like, some people just love to talk to other people. Like, we have conversations with others every day, and that's what I think this community is great, because we can shoot a question in, say, Facebook or our Instagram chat, and you get 5 completely different replies from people all across the globe, as we were talking about before, with people with different opinions, people with different, ideas on topics. And you have to respect it, because, you're in a community, and that's a part of the reason why we started this podcast, is getting perspectives on other views, on people in different areas and people in different lines of work. And that's where these communities can really come in and ultimately help your own business.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, and you said it with, like, the perspectives. That's the key word. I mean, that's what this podcast is called, and that's truly what we want it to be. Like, we're under no thought that we've got it all figured out. Like, we are constantly learning, we're constantly adapting. I used the word refine before. I mean, we are constantly refining what we're doing in business, and I think that's the one thing that I've learned from a lot of different people. Successful entrepreneurs, successful business owners, and just successful athletes, whatever that might be, they're constantly refining what they do. And I guess I'm going to jump ahead, John, because this kind of gets into the next topic a little bit, which is just assumptions in business, assumptions in a lot of different things, that once you assume that you've got it all figured out, I feel like you've lost. And there's a lot of that going on, because it's hard. I mean, no doubt about it. Like, we're in a game right, not a game. We're in this world right now where stuff is changing so fast. And we've talked about social media, so it's an easy one to talk about. But there's so many assumptions made that, like, why would I spend time on Instagram? Why would I spend time on Twitter? That's a waste. And then I just move on and I'm not going to do it. Now, I get it. There's times where I'd be like, it would be a waste of time for you to spend time doing that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, why spend time there? Especially if it makes you mad. If you don't think it works, then don't do it. But to have this assumption that it doesn't work and it can't help your business and you're not going to pay it any mind or attention, then I think that's what's incorrect. I think you should at least hear it out, try it out, see different things. I mean, just in business alone, like in the insurance business that we run, like, just to have these assumptions that you think clients don't want to receive their insurance policies via email anymore and store it in the cloud. Like, just because you like the old way of doing it and you like the paper policies, that doesn't mean your client does. It doesn't mean, like, they want you coming to their house at night or going to their office and interrupting their day to talk about a life insurance policy when you could have done it over the phone and email and have less face-to-face time. Don't get me wrong. We love meeting with clients face-to-face. There's a lot of great good that can come from doing that. But there's a lot of assumptions made in business and social media and any of these different things that I think it clouds judgment. And with the rate of change going on right now in business, I think it's a problem. And I think people should just be a little bit more open to the change that's going to happen. I mean, I really feel like we're just getting started in all this. Middle people are being cut out in all these different businesses. Like, musicians assumed that the way it was going to be was the way it was going to be, and the way it was. I mean, and that changed overnight, right? So you had Napster and you had all these different things. Now it's like Spotify and Pandora, and these things are going to continue to change. The middle people are being cut out. The middle people being like the producers. Not to say that a good producer still can't do a great job. They can, but it's got to change. Sports agents, right? I mean, we look at Vanner Sports is changing the game, because they're coming in there, and a lot of sports agents are just like, we don't share what we do. And here comes Vanner Sports, and they're like, open it up to everybody, and they're showing you videos of exactly of what they talk about behind the scenes. Not everything, but you get the idea that this stuff is changing. Look at the real estate market. I mean, real estate brokerage companies, one of the biggest complaints about them for so long is all they're doing is giving you the platform. They're giving you the sign to hang out in front of the house that you're trying to sell. But what else are they doing for you? Are they creating sales for you? Are they creating new clients for you? If they're not, then what are they needed for? Like, why can't eventually in the next couple of years, and I just heard a prime real estate agent talk about this, that the whole real estate brokerage company might not exist. Now, the real estate agent, I think, is important because they bring a lot of value to the table. Maybe they could read contracts. Maybe they understand the market and the community and the place that you should live. But, right, it's changing. And so that's the point, is that don't assume that this stuff won't change, because it will change. There's disruption in all of this stuff. And, going back on social media, I'm not saying social media is the answer for all of it. I think social media in a lot of ways can be a waste of time, if I'm being honest. Only if it's used incorrectly and not going back to other thing is focused on enough. Don't just blindly throw stuff out there and expect that you're going to get some business from it. You can't just create a Facebook page and say, well, we got 2,000 likes on our Facebook page, so we're good. No, because now Facebook likes are, I'm not saying they're useless, but they're not what they were. Because you can go to you can go to a Facebook page of a major company. They could have 50,000 likes, and you look at their posts, and they have 2 people have actually even engaged with that content, with that post. And so, like, what good did it actually do when you're not thinking a little bit more strategically about it? And so the bottom line is, let's stop assuming things. Let's really think about what we're doing. And I think there's just so much change to come. And I think it's exciting. I'm not saying this. Some of it sounds negative. I really say this in a positive way, that I think if you don't make these assumptions, it's amazing where the growth can come from. Like, I just look at our own business. Like, if I assume that, marketing couldn't help our business, that we would never have built CASCM, right? Or if the people around us didn't believe in it, if you, John, didn't believe in what we were doing, we wouldn't be able to build CASCM, which is the content marketing group. And that's the group that's grown. Now, the insurance business does very well, don't get me wrong, but it's the marketing thing that exponentially grows. And people then come to you on a day-to-day basis saying, I want your group to help us out and do these different things. So I just think it's exciting as to the opportunities that exist when you take those assumptions away from yourself and you allow yourself to see things for what they could be.
Right. And I think what you just talked about and what you did personally with starting CastSource just on the insurance side, and then not assuming that social media, wouldn't be able to help. And we're not just a social media agency, people know that. But I think realizing that this is actually real, and I think that would be a good podcast for another time, just talking about your mindset, talking about what you saw in the future that would really spark it. And it makes perfect sense, because that's where people come in and they're like, wow, you guys actually do this for yourself. Like, yeah, we saw how valuable this could be for not just our business, for other people's businesses, and we can help you. So now, again, people are coming to us because they realize that maybe they were assuming that, hey, I don't need this stuff. This stuff isn't going to help my business. And then they see it actually working for us, for other people. And they're like, wow, I assumed too soon. And I made a mistake, so let's change it.
Yeah, and that's it, because early on when I started in business, I was always told, if you're selling something, you should buy it yourself. Because if you buy it yourself, then, this is something that people in sales have been taught for a long time. Now you've lived it, or you've lived with it, whether it's a product or a service. You understand what that is. And so what does that look like? You go to a car dealership and you're like, well, what car do you drive, sir? And then they show you, let's say you're at a Chevy and they drive a Mazda, right? It's like, well, wait a second. So you don't even believe in the product. Now, I'm not saying that can't, I own different things too. So I'm not saying that's the way to live every aspect of your sales career. But we do things that we do in our own business. And I think it's really important to say, I'm not going to go and try something on your business that I wouldn't do in my own business. And what I think of it is like, as it were my own business. If I were running this, door manufacturing company, hardware manufacturing company, what would I do? Who would I talk to? Who would I reach out to? How can I connect the dots to make your business better, give you more opportunities, like that kind of thing? And I think it is really important to do it that way, going on that point. And yeah, like it's an exciting time without question. And there's going to be more and more opportunities going, but you gotta have to change. You have to be ready to change and think through it, or maybe stay the course. So yeah,
making a change is it, and that leads us to our final topic, which is the NBA trade deadline. When teams are looking to make a change, some teams are looking to build for the NBA finals or the NBA playoffs, and some teams are looking to build for next year and down the line. Let's just talk specifically first about the Cleveland Cavaliers. So today I got out of class, I checked my phone, and I realized the Cavs gave away half their team.
Yeah.
But they were struggling. the other night they were up, like 21 points and then blew that lead and lost the game. I know last night LeBron hit that night's game winner. And then, but they did need to make a change, not only to keep LeBron or try to convince him to stay in town after this tough season, but to make another run in the playoffs. So they gave away guys like Amon Shumpert, Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and draft picks and all that. But they recognized they needed to make a change. Whether these moves will pay off or not, we'll see. But yeah, sometimes you need to make a change. Let's talk about the trade deadline.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think right before we started filming this podcast, we put a post on Instagram, right? Sportspreneur Instagram, about like, if things are broken, like maybe it's time to make a change, and that's what the Cavs did. They went all in on the change. Now, does that make it right? No, it does not. Right? You things could be going wrong, and you can make a big change, and it could actually get worse. So it remains to be seen whether this works out. However, I think like when things aren't going well, I think something has to be done, whether it's a mindset shift, if it's or a drastic overhaul. Like, I don't know. That's up to the leaders of that organization, of that team, of that business to make those decisions. But I do think it's, hey, if we're going to look at the Cavs and use the sportsepreneur type of analogy that we like to create, hey, if it's really broken, which obviously there's some broken things about the Cavs going on, and they were saying it, like, listen, we don't like each other anymore. You got to do something about it, and that's what they did. And so you almost have to respect the fact that they're willing to go out there and take a run at it. So from the sports standpoint, I don't know. I think it goes back to, Kyrie Irving over the summer says he doesn't want to be there anymore. He demands a trade, and they cave into his demands, and they trade him, in the conference to a team that they competed with last year. And they lost one of their best players the first week in that horrific injury, Gordon Hayward, and then they come out and they're one of, if not one of the best teams in the NBA right now. It remains to be seen if in a playoff series if the Celtics can beat the Cavs. I don't know, but here go the Cavs making changes, and they kind of had to. Like I said, does it work? I don't know. I think Golden State's kind of sitting back being like, big deal. But I think in business you could look at it the same way and just say, things aren't going well, you make change. Now we have an article, I think it's coming out soon, and it really goes back to the playoffs, which when we've talked about this before, it's like the Jacksonville Jaguars going out there, winning for 3 quarters, and in the fourth quarter they took their foot off the gas and did the things that didn't get them there. So they made a change when things were working and it went against them. And then you go to the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles, won the Super Bowl. And what they did is they kept their foot on the gas the whole time. And it wasn't perfect for them the whole game. They made some mistakes, and the Patriots are coming at them. I mean, Brady threw for what? I don't know how many yards, 1,000 yards or something like that, right? and so it's just about, right? So but they didn't stop. They knew it was working. They kept their foot on the gas, and it worked out for them. It was a close game, and they won it. So it's a lot of stuff going on in the sports world right now. It's pretty exciting. So I don't know what happens from here with the NBA, but I don't know. Do you have any predictions? Like, are the Cavs, are they going to find their way back to the NBA Finals for, like, how many years would that be? 4 years in a row?
So, yeah. I mean, I think this is the year LeBron doesn't make the finals. What is it? That's going to be, like, the first time in 9 years or something like that. He's been to, like, 7 straight finals, I think. I think this is going to be the first year someone overtakes him. Who overtakes him, I'm not sure. Could be Boston. Other teams are rolling too. I think the Heat are rolling. Maybe if John Wall gets back, the Wizards can do something. But I can't. I mean, obviously, I think the Warriors are going to win the finals again. Going to win another championship with the team they have. But as we talked about a long time ago, the West is a lot tougher than the East right now. So I'm looking forward to the Western Conference playoffs. Looking forward to those matchups because you got teams like the Thunder who have Melo, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook, and those guys can take down just about anyone. So maybe they give the Warriors a shot. The playoffs are a good time for NBA basketball, and that's when a lot of basketball fans really start watching because the NBA playoffs are typically a lot of fun when you don't have the Warriors, crushing everybody.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be good. I think Houston's good, like you said. I think OKC's good. I don't see it yet in the East, where I get it. The Celtics are a good team, the Wizards, and maybe a couple other teams, and I think it might be a little bit harder for them than it's been in years past. But for some reason, I think when it actually matters, because it doesn't matter right now. They could be the 6th seed and still make it to the NBA Finals because they're not. Like you said, they've been in the finals so many years in a row that, home court matters, but does it really matter? Because if they win one of the first two, they steal home court anyway. So,
Right.
and they have no problem if they have to win on the road, if they need to win a game that they can. I don't see them not making the finals for whatever reason. I'm probably wrong because I'm usually going to be wrong with the predictions. Although I did predict the Eagles to beat the Patriots, so that was finally got one right there. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of cool. But I really do like seeing it from a different perspective, right? From the side of, you watch an organization like the Cavs go through the turmoil. Their culture is not where it needs to be. Like, they had this culture before where they were like, they'd all hang out together. They'd go to the clubs together. They'd go to the Indians games together. They would just hang out together. And you're like, this year they just threw it off. Like, I think they kind of panicked a little bit, fired their GM, or parted ways with David Griffin, traded Kyrie, which again I think it was a mistake because you kind of controlled that a little bit, but who knows what was going on behind the scenes. But this year they lost that culture, and they said, you know what, we're making a change, and I respect that. Whether it works or not, I have no idea. I think in the long run, like I'm going to say right now, the Cavs are going to go to the finals. They're going to lose. They'll lose to Houston or probably Golden State, but like, they're making a change, and I think that's just going back to the overall theme of what we're talking about. Not like making changes, but just be observant of what's going on around, and you can make changes. You can, you can change your business model. You can change the people that work in your organization, and if it's not a positive environment, if it's not a good culture, like John, we talk about here all the time, like we want a positive culture. We want high energy. We want to make impact in other businesses. We want to make an impact in our business and with the consumers and the clients that we work with. So, I mean, it's just... But in watching it from a kind of like an extreme example of professional or college sports, which it's not what we do, but it's just those examples that it can kind of like the analogies that you can create from it. To me, it's a lot of fun, and I think a lot of people have taken to it as well, which I think is awesome. And to others, it's not, but that's okay too, because it's not for everybody. We realize that. But a lot of good can come from it, and exciting, like I said multiple times on this podcast, exciting times. And yeah, so I think we covered all the topics that we wanted to hit on today. Did we not?
We did. I think that was good. I mean, I think anyone who is listening to it can get a lot out of this. It's just us having conversations again that we have all the time. Like we talk about sales all the time. We talk about basketball all the time, and we talk about changing things up and creating the good culture around the office and around just what we are and wherever we are every day. Like we could be hours away, but that culture is still there. If you talk to one of us on the phone, it's a good environment. I think anyone listening to that can see that and can learn from it, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we hope so. But we're always learning ourselves and, trying to, connect certain dots and help our own business and help other businesses. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. The content marketing is in a great spot right now. But it's ever changing, and that's the thing I think that we understand, that this is like it's like an NBA season. It's going to be a lot of ups and downs and roller coaster rides and all that. And I think more than anything, finding the fun in it, find the enjoyment out of it, because it's a grind. I mean, it just is. There's going to be problems here and there, but sticking with it. So no, this is good. I enjoy these types of conversations that we have. And we have these conversations, just like you said, John, on a daily basis. This is more focused on in that podcast format. And we'll continue to do more of these. We're getting good feedback on them, but also continue the conversations we have with business owners, entrepreneurs. If anyone's listening and want to be featured on a podcast, we love hearing from people. We can definitely try to get you scheduled out. We're definitely scheduled out some here right now, but absolutely would love to have good conversations with people. And that's about it, man. So I think we should close this thing out. I think we're gonna hang up this podcast, and we're gonna probably find out about like 10 more NBA trade deadlines that happen, and then like the Winter Olympics that nobody's talking about start tonight. So I don't know if like it's weird, like no one's even like mentioning it, right? Or am I? Or
that's no, yeah, I haven't even like I actually forgot they were tonight until you mentioned it earlier because no one's talking about it. Like, I don't know why. I love the Winter Olympics, but I mean, no one's talking about it. I'm excited.
I think it's just so far away, and it's like my guess is it's already like taken place today. So we're gonna be watching it. I'm assuming it's already taking place, so it's gonna be tape delay, and that kind of throws it off a little bit. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe it catches on. Like if you get some Americans or some other countries that are doing really well, and people take a liking to it. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe we can do a podcast about the Winter Olympics. I don't know.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, man. So well, that's awesome, John. Thanks for spending the time, and we'll do it again. John, it was absolutely awesome having this freestyle discussion with you. From the topics of car shopping to the NBA trade deadline, I think entrepreneurs listening can get a feel for the endless opportunities that exist in business today. The perspectives from this episode are now perspectives you as a business owner and entrepreneur can use for yourself. And for you to listen to the entire podcast, thank you. And for any entrepreneur with questions on content marketing, feel free to reach out to us. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. You can contact me on Twitter at Eric_Kaz or with the same name on Instagram, or you can find us at KazSource.com with links to us on the different social networks. Thank you for listening to our KazSource podcast, Entrepreneur Perspectives, building and protecting your business one podcast at a time. Till next time, we're out of here. This podcast exists in large part because of KazCM, the content marketing business inside KazSource Inc. KazCM is excited to bring the content marketing services used at KazSource to you. Learn more by visiting KazCM.com. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. It's a big deal to us. We hope you found value in it, and if you did, we would be incredibly grateful if you gave us a review on iTunes. Remember to subscribe to this podcast and feel free to share it with anyone you know. More than anything, thank you again for listening. We appreciate it.